enough. That was good enough.
Okay. All right.
What was your question you just asked me?
What?
What was your question you just asked me? Who were you interviewing today?
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, listeners.
Here's the bio he sent me.
This is just FYI. When you send out something about someone we're interviewing, send some information on the person.
I sent this bio to you.
What? When did I get that bio?
I don't know. I sent it. This is the guy we're interviewing. Hey, I'm not going to read the bio anyway, because everything I want to ask him is in this.
I know it's in there, but yeah. So anyway, listeners, if I appear to ask questions that have nothing to do with our guest, it's because this is the trough that I was led to by my poet who doesn't know it.
By the way, the Bloom is going to publish my poem.
They should. Hey, are you keeping a book of those poems?
Oh yeah, I got. Yeah, absolutely, I got them.
No, but Sam, you ought to self-publish some of those. Those are great poems.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's only taken me 50 years to write a good poem.
Well, whatever. So, why don't you go? Why you can entitle it "The First 50 Years"?
Here's to the next 50.
Cheers to the next 50. Exactly. And then it's a book of poems by Sam Lewis. I bet I have 1,000 haikus. Well, no. Okay, you got to call. Okay, call out, get a editorial staff, and but anyway, the ones I
tried that a couple of years ago, but she was helpful, but she was more like she just didn't understand poetry, and she didn't understand what I was doing, and tried. She corrected my English, my grammar, my punctuation.
That's more. They're looking at grammar in a poem. Grammar in a poem? Are they crazy? No such thing. It's an oxymoron. Yeah. So, but these last poems, I don't know. Maybe I'm paying more attention or whatever. But the ones that you've written, just terrific.
Terrific.
Yeah. And are you sure ChatGPT didn't do that? Did
I'm positive.
AI do that?
I started. I did one time with. I started with ChatGPT, and I changed it a lot. And it's weird as hell. Nobody else will probably ever know, but every time I read it, I can tell it's not all my poem. I just don't. I change it a lot, but
no, that's what they're saying. The heart is carved out, and all you're left with are the words created by this person.
That might be maybe that's what I'm sensing. I don't know.
So
yeah. It was a weird thing. Hey, do we have sponsors?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. By the way, listeners, our sponsorships to begin with, we have the Ripe Choice Farm and Catering, and that is here in Northern California, full event space and catering kitchen, along with orchard and vineyard and outdoor areas. Lots of fun. We do lots of weddings and meetings and fun events, fundraisers, etc. We also sponsored by our newsletter, my newsletter, Happy Friday Neighbors, which I've been doing for the last 25 years, comes out every Friday, 4 a.m. Pacific time. So Mark at marklips.com if you want to be on the newsletter. Mark at marklips.
How do you find the Ripe Choice online?
theripechoice.net.
Got it.
I think .com is a porn site. So just make sure you go to .net. The ripe, like a ripe piece of fruit, choice.net. What about you, Sam? What do you got?
I've got, we're sponsored by Pride Staff here in Bloomington, Illinois. We're a full service staffing agency. We do temp to hire, direct hire. We focus on office admin, light industrial and warehouse. You can find us at, you can Google Pride Staff Bloomington to find our website, and you'll see my smiling face and a list of all the jobs we're trying to fill. And we're also sponsored by Punk Racing, who a couple weeks ago clinched the national championship in the 160 class and is leading all 4 classes at Granite City right now, and is doing really well at his home track and other tracks. So Punk Racing. If you think you want to go fast, put your name on a car and we'll take you fast.
Hey, what does 160 mean?
That's the size. I don't know if it's the size of the motor that they use. And it's
I thought
not,
maybe
it's
pound,
not, it's
maybe
not
more than
CCs. I promise you it's not CCs, smaller,
Yeah.
but it has to do with that class of motor.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. So Augustine's moving up, man.
Yeah.
It's going to get competitive now.
He's you know, I people say things to me about that, and maybe I've said that on here before. You know, for all those other kids out there, this is kind of a hobby and it's fun, and then that's not true for Augustine. This is it for him. This is everything.
This is what he wants. Yeah, no, that's great. That's like the guy on any of the sports teams who wants to play pro ball. The rest just want to play in high school.
Yeah, they're all out there playing chess, and Augustine's playing, or they're playing checkers, and Augustine's playing chess.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but my point being, now that he's moving up, he's going to move into more like guys like him, because the other guys will eventually drop out, and you'll be left with people who are.
It gets distilled down. You're right. You're exactly right.
Yeah. That's the same way with club ball, club sports, which we were a part of that. You know, you did the little league social, you got out of that, but then you moved into that club stuff, and that's where the guys who later on became pros, or
well, that's what I said to him. He got wrecked out by this kid a few weeks ago, and I said, well, you can be mad at the kid, but Augustine's going into a corner doing stuff that this kid can't. But he thinks because he's followed Augustine into the corner, he can do it too. So he rams into Augustine and wrecks him out, and you're like,
oh,
you want to be mad, but this kid has not done nearly the laps Augustine's done this year, not even close. So it's like, what are you going to do? But to your point, you get to that next level where all those kids have done the laps that Augustine's done.
Right.
Now that's
what really also when you have those things happen, that's racing.
That is racing.
And there isn't a pro driver out there, number 1, 2, or 3, consistently that hasn't been trading some paint in some fashion or another all through their lives. Right?
That's right.
Hasn't spun out, hasn't, lost an engine, couldn't finish a race,
I think that's true about my life. I've lost an engine. I'm not sure I can finish the race.
I'm dropping an engine right now.
It's my friend who's a race car nut. He told me one time, he says, how race cars they run the fastest and the best the few laps before they blow up. He says, I've been feeling pretty good lately.
Yeah.
No, what are you telling
me? Mine's not doing anything. And so I feel like I can make it through the whole race. I just won't be anywhere near the front.
Well, but you'll finish.
Yeah.
You'll
finish. Exactly. But that's another thing that Augustine will learn. You have to have a feel for your car to where when you're riding that edge.
Oh, you can't. If you sit down and talk with him, he starts telling you stuff about the car was doing. It's like, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, this guy we're meeting.
Let me know when it starts talking back to you. Yeah.
This Gerrit guy, I think you're going to enjoy this guy. He's so full of energy and jacked up all the time, and he's just got a passion for this stuff. And we always enjoyed having him here in the office, because there's always something going on with Gerrit,
Yeah. And this is Gerrit. This is Susan's. Who's Gerrit?
Gerrit Salinas is a guy that used to work for Pride Staff, and he used to come to this office. That's how I got to know him.
Right.
That's the connection. And he lives in Dallas, Texas, somewhere in there.
Okay,
but as I got to know him, I realized his fascination and passion and I'm friends with him on Facebook. He does all this stuff with arcade games. He builds his own. He's got an arcade garage. He's got he built a coffee table out of a flat screen TV and made it a digital arcade game. It's just crazy stuff.
Once again, you've got someone smarter than us in the room.
That's the whole idea, isn't it? And it's not hard to do. It's a low bar. Apparently, it's good enough.
I know.
All right, let's go see Gerrit.
Go see him, man. All right. Oh, look at
There he
there.
is, the man, the myth, the legend.
How you doing, Sam? Good to see
Good.
you.
How you doing, man? It was good to see you.
Holy cow. I've been hearing about you, Gerrit.
Uh-oh.
Gerrit,
Yeah.
this is my friend Mark Lips. He's out in Lake County, California. We
Nice
were
to
high
meet you.
school friends and buddies. And Gerrit, Mark, this is Gerrit. He is a friend of mine. I met my Pride staff in our Pride staff days, and he's been to our office, and we've got to know him a little bit that way. And that's how I discovered his love and passion for arcade games. Gerrit, I was going to read this, and as I was looking at it, I was like, this is all the stuff we want him to talk about. If I start reading this, I'm going to steal his thunder.
Okay, fair.
So I just and some of this stuff I didn't know. But why don't we start with just talking about your here's how I know that Gerrit's into this arcade stuff. He comes and visit our offices. He says, Sam, do you know that there's this famous arcade place in Atlanta, Illinois, right by Bloomington? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah. It's just people all over the country know about it. I don't have a clue. So since then, I've done some investigation, found out this is a pretty cool place I've never been to. But so that's how I found out about Gerrit and his passion for this. So Gerrit, how did you get into this? What gave you this lust for this gaming stuff? It's not really gaming; it's arcade gaming.
It's a little bit of all of it. Being completely honest with you, it goes all the way back to my childhood, of course. When my brother, who's about 3.5 years older than me, he had the Atari 2600. So we had some fun playing Pac-Man and Pong and all of that. But really, I was the perfect age when in 1985, when Nintendo came out with the original Nintendo Entertainment System. I was 9 years old. It was the perfect age. Mario spoke to me, the whole nine, and I wanted that sucker so bad. And I remember approaching my parents, asking for it, and they were like, well, that's a pretty expensive, toy. And so I went to my brother and he said, yeah, I'd like to have one. And so we agreed, and we spent 3 months of the summer just saving up every penny we could between our allowance and, we were mowing lawns for the neighbors. And I remember at the end of that summer, I vividly remember that day when we finally had every last penny we needed to not just buy the Nintendo, but to also get one game with it. And so my brother and I got on our bicycles. This is in the day when kids could get on their bikes and disappear for the entire day, and your parents wouldn't be that concerned about you. And he and I got on our bikes with our backpacks, and we rode all the way across the suburbs of Phoenix to get to the mall and go to Sears. And we bought our first Nintendo together, and I got the Legend of Zelda. And of course, the Nintendo came with the original Mario. And I just remember going home and plugging that sucker in. And right out of the gates, my brother whooped me at everything. I wasn't really very good at playing video games. And to be honest with you, to this day, I'm still not very good at playing video games, but I had so much fun learning about it and playing it. And it just became a big part of my childhood and stayed with me. As I got older, all my friends would start getting gaming consoles, and so they would have ones that I didn't have. And it just kind of kept on evolving and kept on evolving, and it always just kind of stayed as a way to stay entertained and be fun.
Do
But
you collect it? Do you collect the consoles? Do you still have all of them, or are you that?
yeah, so I
I
made
know
the
you got a
classic.
lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I made the classic mistake that I think everyone makes, which is you kind of get over the old generation, the last generation, and you want the new thing. And I would trade mine in and get some store credit to get the new one. But then, and that was fine, honestly, for most of my adult life. But then I had my son about 13 years ago, and having him just reminded me of the joy that you can have with a childlike mentality and seeing the world anew. And it just revived all of that nostalgia for me and all of that passion for me. And so in the last decade, I've really started to amass quite a collection.
I
started
thought
out.
where you were going. I thought where you were going. First of all, just so you know, I looked up those years that summer you were raising. That coincides with a bunch of liquor store robberies too. So I don't know what, but I thought you were going that you still wish you had that console, because if you look at, for instance, the iPhone 2 or going for $40,000 or something like that. I mean, it's like vintage pieces of equipment like that are just, if they're in good shape, are worth a lot of money. So
They really are, and I wish I hung on to all of it, but I didn't.
yeah, no, we were all in the moment. You upgraded from this to this, and your previous.
Everybody says this about baseball cards and their old, this or that. It's all this. With me, it was Playboy magazines. I upgraded to Hustler, and I wish I had the old Playboys back. But
well, you know what really brought it to forefront for me? The Nintendo Wii was a game changer for the industry. It brought in users from every generation that never even thought to play video games before.
Right.
And I remember having a substantial amount of fun with my friends, playing Guitar Hero and Wii Tennis and all of those fun things. And then eventually it kind of just started to collect some dust. And so, of course, I sold it. And then, 8 years later, all of a sudden, I wanted to play those games again. And I had to go back, and I did, and went back and bought not just the console, but all the accessories that I had. And so when I winded up selling for about $150, I winded up spending another $600 to buy it all back again. What's great though is that since we started this collecting, we've gone from a handful of standard consoles that most homes probably have today to now looking at 21 consoles and more to come. We're looking to get every generation of every major video game system that's out there, because what I've learned and what my son has reminded me of, because a lot of these games can be played now on your computer or on your phone, but there's just nothing that replaces the joy that you get from playing it on the original hardware. Having that original controller, the way it was intended to be played, it just makes it go from fun to lots of fun.
Now, do you have a tricked out room with multiple monitors and complete with seats that vibrate and the whole surround sort of feeling of these machines?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty awesome. I have a separated garage that we've turned into Gerrit's Backyard Arcade. And it all started with, I hand-built a full-size arcade machine that's got a PC in it, and it plays about 500 old video games on it. Well, that became a central hub for anyone and everyone we know to want to come over and play those games. Well, then my wife and I went to lunch one day, and we popped into an Antique Smart, and they had a pinball machine. Holy crap, I forgot how much I love pinball. And so we ended up buying that. So I got a full-size pinball machine in there. Well, that's now grown into, I built my own racing arcade simulator that does have all that feedback and wraparound screens.
He built it piece at a time, Mark. He posted his pictures of building the thing. I was like, good Lord, that.
So listeners, we're talking not just someone who is an avid player or likes to enjoy playing and doing something with his son. I'm like, you're actually building these things, merging different consoles, merging different stuff. And you almost wonder if you shouldn't get a patent on some of this stuff. But so when you say we, you mean you and your son, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And then what is your background by trade? How are you? Are you an engineer?
No, I'm in sales. I've always been in sales, mainly in the staffing and recruiting industry, which is how Sam and I met.
Yeah.
But I'm naturally very much a gadget geek and interested in peeking under the hood and seeing how it works. I always have been. I was that kid that would take apart stuff, and sometimes I could rebuild it. My mom
Do you feel like you missed or you should be maybe going in a different direction?
Well, to be honest with you, about 4 months ago, my son came to me and said he wanted to start collecting retro games and consoles. I've always kind of had like the arcade machine, the pinball machines, but hadn't really gone into that just yet. And so I talked to him about his interest there and expressed to him that there's an investment involved that comes with that.
Yeah.
And so I determined, at 13 is the perfect age. Why don't we start our own vintage video game and toy resale business, and that'll raise the funds we need to start collecting. And in just a few short months, we've gone from 5 to 21 consoles. We have some very key collector game pieces. We've been able to find, broken old Sega handheld portable games, and then thanks to YouTube, watched the heck out of those videos, and then figured out, like, I learned how to solder this summer, and we figured out how to fix them and bring them back to life. Mainly
You've got a business going on online with getting people consoles that they.
Yeah.
What do you call that? Where do you go online to find your?
As we go out everywhere and anywhere, garage sales have been fruitful. We've gone to a lot of swap meets.
No, I mean where you are
stores.
selling.
Yeah, how do people find you in your business?
To buy something from you?
Yeah, and we sell at local conventions, and then we sell on eBay primarily, and we've had a lot of success on eBay. What's wild about this is my son, again, he's 13. He's on track to make $20,000 in his first year of doing this, which I think is quite substantial.
Mark, I'm leaving this show right now.
Yeah, I'm taking to mark my computer as we speak.
Yeah. It's wild what, pardon me guys, my volume went down and I can hardly hear you. It's wild what we've been able to accomplish in such short order, and now we have visions of this being his high school job, and also being
college job, after college job, forget college job. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a name for your company?
It's Gerrit's Backyard Arcade.
Gerrit's GERRITS Backyard.
Yes, exactly.
Gerrit's Backyard Arcade. And GERRIT, listeners.
I guess the podcast is over, Mark. Did I tell you about he has that sleeping problem where he just falls asleep anywhere and just
narcolepsy. Yeah,
he's got narcolepsy, and he's back. He's back.
He's back. Okay, good.
Sorry, I lost the audio.
You think it's bad there? I was driving around in a car with him when he did that, and he was driving.
But so hey, Gerrit, can you hear us now?
I can.
Okay, so you kick something down below.
You need to solder that, whatever.
Yeah, you need to solder that. I don't think you shouldn't be able to kick it like that, or get it out of the way, cover it with something. Okay, you need to YouTube that or Google that.
But that's a wonderful thing that you're doing that with your son, because, in this day and age, there's so many things that, and screens are part of it, that are separating kids from their parents, parents from their kids. And,
the fact that the sooner your kid, it's like Augustine, the sooner your kid can find a passion, the more direction, more focused, better off he'll be going forward. I mean, if he all of a sudden, or she, has this super passion, it's pretty apparent. They cannot not do this, right? I mean, this is something they have to do every day. This is their reward for the end of the day. Okay, I've got all my homework done. Now I'm going to go develop and play and engineer and do all these things and create. And if you find that out, where you're going. You don't have, I
completely agree with you. I look at it two different ways. So for one, my son is autistic, and he has inclination when he finds a topic he's interested in, that he pours himself into that topic. And for the longest time, it was World War II, which was interesting, and we learned a lot. My son can tell you every single flag every country has ever had in its history, when it came out. I mean, it's wild, the stuff he knows.
At least he's choosing stuff that have meaning.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody related to you, Mark.
Yeah, I know.
So then because of that, his autism, he's also very he's shown that he's not very socially active. He's very, likes to his individualism and his, privacy. And so I really thought, okay, maybe this is a way that we can push that passion into something that he can build into a lifelong dream. And then secondarily, can I help him find those necessary skills to operate in the world that he lives in? And what's amazing in the short window of time that we've been doing this, he has been more social. His friends group is invited over. He wants to go spend time with them. This was not normal prior to us starting this project. And I can tell because I'll task him. We go to a garage sale and I'll give him a tip, like, hey, go up to them with this stack of stuff you want and offer $10. Don't wait for them to come up with a price first, or otherwise you'll be trying to drive them down versus pushing them up. And he'll watch him go and execute on that and do it perfectly. My boss, my manager, bought an Atari from him, but made him sell it to him. And he sat down in front of my boss and he said, "So, Joe, my dad tells me that you used to play Pitfall when you were a kid." And then he paused and waited for a response. I mean, you know how amazing that is to see a 13-year-old have the wherewithal to be able to think that way through. So I'm so impressed with how this enriched his life. And it gives me confidence that he can, and then I said I look at this two ways. The second way is I do look back at my career and I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but I do recognize that I wish I chased a passion rather than a job or a career. I followed my dad's path: work hard, save money, retire. But I don't wake up every day passionate about what I do for a living, like I know my son could if he could build this into a career for himself. So my motivation is selfish in a way. I want my son to have those opportunities that I didn't see for myself and allow for him to make those decisions at a young age while he still has opportunities to fail.
Well, he's lucky he's got a parent mentor.
Yeah.
That's found, not pushing him into something, but found something that he also is interested in, even though it was your passion to begin with, but he's found something he's interested in. And at least till girls come around. But then, that's exactly right. I mean, he's now got confidence because he can talk about it like nobody else in his group. And his group plays those games. And so he is the expert and they glom onto that. And so he becomes very confident and very...
Yeah. The kids call it flexing. He likes to show off his latest collectible and show it off his friends, and he calls it flexing. So he's always flexing his sweet new gear. We took the man cave idea, the Gerrit's Backyard Arcade, and expanded it a little. So he now has our guest bedroom as his game room, and it's a Sega themed game room. We just put the finishing touches on it. It's only Sega, so all their various different consoles, and because he's raised the funds, was able to hook him up with a sweet sound system and a nice TV. And
what's your son's name?
His name is Ridley.
So why wouldn't it be Ridley's Background Arcade?
Because I feel like in 2023, you don't want a 13-year-old promoting himself on the internet.
I got you. Got it.
So I do all online communication for him.
Are you taking him to the next step and saying, "Hey, let me show you how we set up an LLC," or anything along those business areas?
Yeah, in fact, we just actually had our first tax appointment last week.
Oh man, holy cow, this kid is great.
I didn't necessarily think it would be necessary, but he's made so much darn money that it is necessary. Yeah. We're building an LLC, and we're also starting soon going to be starting a YouTube show that will be Gerrit's Backyard Arcade, but a section of that will be Ridley's rants, and he'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes each episode ranting about a specific game, either sharing his top 3 reasons why it's worth playing through, or the top 3 things like glitches and reasons it's a fun game, but it could have been better, kind of thing. And so I'm really looking forward to watching.
So there are kids who've out of those YouTube channels who've gotten jobs with toy companies and all kinds just to do
My grandkids watch these guys do things. I'm like, why are you watching that? They watch it.
Yeah.
It's wild. You know, like obviously we got invited to do a podcast with you guys.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah,
addition
yeah,
to that,
yeah.
we
Well, I
actually,
was thinking about you. I listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast, and he did one with John Romero.
Mhm.
You know who he is?
Comic book artist.
Yeah. Well, he isn't he the guy
The
that?
pinball designer.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
game, the 3D game. He figured out fast 3D in digital games, and it's a wonderful podcast if you're interested in, how these five guys basically and made all these games that I can't even think of all the
I've
what are
seen
some
it.
of the games.
Incredible. Yeah. What's neat about them,
Doom. He made Doom. He's the inventor of Doom.
Yep. And what makes his pinball games unique is they're like the first pinball machines ever where you can change the concept of the game. So, for example, it'll have one table and a back glass. That's usually now it's an LCD TV, the back glass, but the table's still raw pinball. But then it has a mechanism in it where they can actually lift that table out and replace it with a new one, and it rethemes the whole pinball game. So for the home enthusiast, you can now have multiple games, but only in one pinball box, which is usually the reason most people wouldn't want a pinball machine is because they're pretty big.
They're big.
They take up a lot of space. And most of us have wives who don't want us to have a lot of those filling up our houses.
Yeah. How is the significant other? Is she just glad the son has a hobby, or
She's been
dad?
she's been very supportive. Her only role is that we keep the game stuff in the Gerrit's Backyard Arcade or in the game room, so she gets the rest of the house. But no, she's gone to convention events with us and worked the booth with us. She will find deals. Like she picked up a comic book at a garage sale for me the other day for like 50 cents, and my son and I sold it online for $25. So she's a part of it, and it's a family endeavor, and we're having
She's picked up enough knowledge to be dangerous. That's great.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
she still have the hair salon?
No, she had severe back issues, and that pretty much put an end to her hairstyling career.
Oh,
She's
no.
had back surgery and is doing much better. But now she's actually doing a career that I think she's even more passionate about. She works for an organization that solely does conventions, and so she works with a division right now that does like the house cleaning products and things of that nature, and
wow.
runs big conventions a year.
Wow.
And then next week she leaves to go to the fashion convention in Las Vegas, which is humongous, and it's really the department she's working to go into. But as long as I've been with her, and we've been together for 25 years, my wife and I have always kind of been involved at working at conventions or having booths
Sure,
at
sure.
various things. And it's just her world. She's so good at it. She's very energetic, and people are drawn to her naturally. And so
Yeah, she's an extreme extrovert with a lot of energy.
Yes, very much.
I guess I sort of like I can't really see her standing there cutting hair except for the talking part,
Well, she's also very artistic, and that was the part she really.
Well, that's true. Yeah, Michael Boss back in the General Tire days would not let us hire anybody from a beauty salon or barbershop or a bartender. I said, why? He goes, well, they only make their living talking. That was a real rule.
Put them in marketing. You put them in sales and marketing.
Yeah.
There's no sales and marketing inside the factory.
Well, no, you put them in HR.
And frankly, we know that those factories probably would have benefited from having some people that could talk. Exactly.
Right.
But so here's my suspicion, Gerrit, that you glommed onto your wife because of that energy. That was a great energy, just like a pinball machine or something like that. And that's what it was. Oh my God.
She's really bright and very engaging. I mean, I was attracted to her from like the minute one. But the reality of it is what has kept me very much in love with her and very much wanting to continue to be her guy is that she's just so interesting and creative. I mean, there's never a dull moment. And I tell people when they ask me about my relationship with my wife, she's the reason I'm interesting. If it wasn't for her, I'd probably be a hermit sitting at home and not get out of the house very
Dude, I
often.
don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, thanks.
I think we know you outkicked your coverage.
I think we also know that all of our wives have made us better people. That's for sure. My wife has made me a better person. I mean,
well, my wife has made me want to be a better person. I'm not sure I did it, but I was kind of wanted to be.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I'm saying. There's always going to be 1 out of 3.
1 out of 3, right. So what do you think? Is this overall another business level that you can take this thing to?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
I mean, that with employees and stuff?
Well, so my retirement plan is to take Gerrit's backyard out of my backyard and put it into a commercial space. I also 3D print, so I 3D print action figures and cool things like that, and like to paint them and decorate my man cave with them or sell them to others. And so my vision is what if I had a space that I could invite the public to? You pay a small fee, you come on inside and play games, absorb the nostalgia, absorb all of the fun. The room is just peppered with memories. And along with that, we'll have some crafts and some things like, I imagine printing out little Incredible Hulks and packaging them with a paintbrush and paints and giving kids an opportunity to learn how to paint these things themselves and have fun with them, and maybe even resell some of our resale product at that location. So my long-term goal and my retirement plan for myself is I want to just tinker and put putts around in my man cave as often as possible, and I want people to come enjoy it with me.
Well, I think the cool thing about a store like that is if you have all these different vintage consoles from past to present, then the parent and the kid are coming in there, and they each have a place to go that resonates with them. Even if it's as simple as Pong, the dad or whoever can go over and, oh, I remember playing this and play it, and then of course the kid goes, gosh, Dad, so simple. Let's go over here where I can at least.
You could be the next. You know who Todd McFarlane is?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You could be the next Todd McFarlane, huh?
I don't know if I necessarily want to become a toy designer or a comic book artist.
But he has a real simple story about that toy design thing. It wasn't that hard for it. He just said, everybody else makes this one kind of toy. Injection molders will make anything you want, or 3D guys will make anything you want. Let's make this kind, and let's just make it better.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. I mean, I'm very creative, and part of the joy of Gerrit's Backyard Arcade is that it's never the same. I'm always thinking of ways to improve it, to add to it. Like I recently did a great diorama around Indiana Jones, and just have this neat little space that you can come and kind of look into it, and kind of brings back all that nostalgia and memory. With the movie that just came out, I thought, oh, that might be a nice addition. And so I think that there is something to that. We actually have sold a few of my dioramas, and I even have a partner who owns an art gallery here in Dallas who's expressed an interest in me presenting them in his gallery.
Very cool. That's the next. That could be the next. An art show featuring all the way back to all the way forward. Now. And by the way, as you move into that, as you already have and successfully done, it's a cottage business right now. But when you start getting your own space and you take it to that next level, as an entrepreneur, everybody's going to have ideas for you. You're just going to have to go, yeah, no, I'm thinking about that or whatever. I mean, everybody wants to chime in. So what about VR?
I haven't had a positive experience with VR to really motivate me to get all that into it. To be honest with you,
Really?
It's neat what it can do. But I don't think anyone really would want to have those on their head for a sustained period of time. It does cause some, some nausea, and it's just not as immersive as I hoped it would be. Now, as that technology improves, yeah, absolutely, I'd be more and more curious about it. I will tell you the one VR thing that I have found that has been gnawing at me as something I might do in the future is they do have VR for pinball, and they make these great tables that are just a foot deep and a foot wide, and it has the buttons where the pinball buttons normally would be and a plunger. But then you put on that headset and all of a sudden you're inside of an arcade.
Oh,
And then you look down and there's the pinball machine, and you have that visceral feedback from touching that box that has some feedback sensors in it, so it also is feeling like an actual pinball on the table. I see that as a form of VR that would have a staying power. And
Play it in a airport, play it anywhere. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You could fit it in anywhere, and you have one little box that could basically hold every pinball machine ever.
Right.
Yeah.
But it
So
sounds, it sounds like you're really focused on pinball.
pinball is definitely a passion.
Dioramas, the 3D and all that, but the VR is not there yet. But it just seems like, I don't know, VR could, I mean,
What what I love about
go on vacation. I think I'll go to the beach right now, or I mean, it's just,
for me, it's
We
about
have,
the visceral experience that you can have when I'm playing pinball. I'm not thinking about anything but what is happening on that table, that the mechanisms working underneath the table, and the feel that comes, the feedback that comes from it. So all the cares and all the worries go away, and I'm focused on that one task. And you just can't seem to replace that with a lot of today's technology. But I found that there's something about that is very inviting, and it drives us as people to it. And it's made Garrett's Backyard Arcade very popular, and people want to come and spend time there when they could be doing the same thing on their cell phone, but it just doesn't give you the same, that visceral feeling.
all right. What's the one, having played, we've all played pinball, right? What is the one mistake people make, the big mistake, because that ball gets right past your flipper, you go, how did I miss that? How did I miss that? Or it bounces back really hard. Or you can actually aim with it, right? You can actually pick. Okay, so I'm just hoping to flip it out. But is there a secret trick to pinball?
if you want to ask somebody, ask Tommy.
Yeah.
So one trick I will tell you, to prevent draining, which is what you just described with the ball falling. Don't hit both flippers at the same time, alternate. And when the ball's coming close, alternate real quickly. If you're not sure which one it's going to hit, that movement will move the ball just a little to the left or the right. And 9 out of 10 times you can save it.
Oh, good point. Good point.
The other thing that a lot of people are afraid to do, but they should be doing, is don't be afraid to muscle that pinball machine around.
Move the table.
Who hasn't thrown their hip against who? I mean, that's the way. Remember those days? You used to, man. You used to,
Yeah.
Oh,
it was almost involuntary. Your whole body was moving with the machine.
Until you tilted. Tilted.
And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid to tilt it. And it's like, look, I mean, if you'll figure out where that window.
Yeah.
But that is probably one of the most important aspects of successful pinball play.
You're right about the feel of a pinball table. And I think I think those things, the way you described it, is what I call a Zen thing. When you're doing it, it's like a Zen thing. It disconnects all these other things. So and it does it in the right way. And it just makes it a Zen thing.
It's kind of like piloting a plane or something. You have to become a piece of the plane. You are a part of the plane, and you're all moving in tandem. Everybody's moving.
And then the other suggestion I'll make is read the rules before you play it, because they're all different. And once you understand how to score and how each individual table operates, you'll start to get a feel for, okay, maybe I don't have perfect control, but I get a better idea to get a more rewarding experience.
Right. Or know that I should focus on this versus this. This is just going to get me a little incremental, whatever.
Here's our 5-minute warning. Actually, it's 4 minutes and 30. We did not pay for the upgraded version, Gerrit. So
Yeah.
we're
That's
cheap,
times we're just
and
gonna
we know we talk too much.
right. We're actually putting that back on our guests. That is something that they will be charged. They'll get a bill at $12.
So if people want to connect with you, how do they do it, Gerrit?
Well, come visit our Facebook page or our Instagram. Again, it's Gerrit's Backyard Arcade. Gerrit spelled with Gerrit. And those will drive you everywhere else you would want to find. Our eBay store is also called Gerrit's Backyard Arcade. And as we're expanding, I'm pretty good at keeping the promotions up and letting people know how to find us. But also don't expect that all you got to do is come to find me to buy things. We also give out good advice and tips and recommendations. And I'll leave your guests with this. If you've got an old Nintendo, you got an old Genesis that plays cartridge games, and you complain because, well, more than half the time I try to turn it on and the game doesn't start. And the old school belief that you could blow on it would cause it to work isn't true. What they need is just to get a Q-tip out and some rubbing alcohol and just rub the pins on the bottom side of that cartridge before you plug it into the machine. I guarantee 100% success that will work after that.
Wow. Great tip. Great tip. If you know, there are people picking those things up still out there and or haven't found them back in storage. The grandkids are playing with them or something like that. So
I think this whole world of yeah, and that's amazing. And this whole world of screens, you know, I was watching my granddaughter yesterday type on her screen. They were doing Roblox, whatever the hell that is, and they were playing with her other cousin in the room and about 5 other people somewhere in the United States. And I watched Caprice type, but she doesn't type. She types really fast, but she doesn't type all the words out.
Yeah.
well, no.
She does kind of a one finger thing, and the suggestion comes up. She start boom, boom, and she's really fast at that.
Yeah.
I was like, I watch her. I was like, that's crazy.
Every now and then someone will send some initials that I've got to ask, okay, what is that? That's too slow to respond. Is that what they're saying? What is it? You know, you're trying to figure out what it's saying.
An app for that. AI has turned into an amazing technology. And
okay, so we have about what do we have, about 30 seconds? It's just real quick. AI.
Oh yeah, no, thumbs up.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
you don't think you're creating a monster, or it needs to be regulated, or
yes, really? It does. Of course it does. So just like the internet needed regulations and rules. So let's put some stability around it. But the way that
the internet has any regulations or rules, does it?
Well, yeah, it does.
I mean, the companies set up their own sort of, I guess.
Well, and the government has some pretty strict constraints on it as well. And
well, yeah, you're not
necessary ones. But you know, the reality of it is that I think AI is going to do a lot more good than it will do bad. And if we use it properly, it could help us solve a lot of the problems of this world.
I know that, but what about?
That's a good place to end on, because we're going to run out of seconds.
AI.
I appreciate you so much. Thanks for coming on. I miss you, brother.
It was fun.
And
hey, what Gerrit is saying is that AI is good enough.
It's good enough.
Good to see
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you, guys.
Good. 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 Enough. As good enough.